Well, ladies and gentlemen, good old Capcom getting woke. That's something that we've talked about prior many times, but the reason why this one in particular is an interesting story is, quite frankly, it has to do with localization, something that we have talked about in depth when it comes to anime and manga, and now we're talking about it on the video game side. We have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Capcom goes full woke and reveals that its localization team alters video games for cultural adaptation, preserving context, and most importantly, inclusive storytelling.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were wondering what's the most important thing to make sure is able to be translated properly, it's inclusive storytelling, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's what everybody's looking for when it comes to Eastern content being translated for the West. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says, Japanese developer and publisher Capcom admitted that its localization team is altering video games for cultural adaptation, preserving context, and inclusive storytelling. Capcom's games library is extensive. The company is one of the most recognized video game publishers, having developed and/or published Dragon's Dogma 2, Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, Ace Attorney, Mega Man, Dead Rising, Lost Planet, and more. Now, let's be very clear. Nobody's taking away from the accolades of Capcom. Capcom has, without a doubt, given us some of the most famous games that you are probably able to even think about in modern history. I mean, they definitely have some of the most recognizable games and titles by far compared to other publishers and developers, without a doubt. Nobody's taking that away from them. The problem is that lately they've been getting very interestingly woke with some of the stuff they've been doing. Now, Street Fighter, the most recent Street Fighter, is still a good game. It got a little woke, yeah, absolutely, but it's still a good game. It seems like Capcom's trying to tippy-toe their way into ESG little by little, and that's usually how it begins. They do a little bit here and there, and before you know it, they just go full-on woke, which is seemingly what's happening now. It says the official Capcom localization team account on X posted, "What is localization? Embark on a global adventure through the lens of game localization, beyond mere translation." Which, by the way, that's really what it should be, mere translation. We're diving into the art of cultural adaptation, preserving context, and inclusive storytelling. Join us as we unravel the intricacies that make games resonate worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, they are trying to take localization and turn it into a form of activism. That is genuinely what they are trying to do. They believe that localization is some sort of a philosophy. They have come out and openly expressed this. Many different activists in the woke localization have absolutely said this. They view it as a philosophy, translation philosophy, localization philosophy, whatever the case may be. They view it as such, and they want to interject their own personal beliefs, their own cultural beliefs, their own identity politics into whatever they translate, because let's be real, they can't actually touch these stories, right? Not in the sense of they can't actually write these stories. They can't write the woke mangas that they wish they could write in their mind. They can't write the woke animes they wish they could write in their mind. So what do they got to do? What do they got to do to get their message across? There's only one thing they can do. Take the story of what someone else wrote and translate it to something completely fucking different. That's the only way that they're going to be able to interject their own identity politics that they so desperately want to put in this stuff, because they all know that anime and manga is the last bastion of entertainment that they haven't actually touched on a mass scale. Everybody loves anime and manga. It's growing every single day here in the West to the point where it's destroying American comic books, and they want to put themselves in it. Somehow, some way, they want to get in on it. Then it says the account added, localization isn't just about translating words. It is. It's about adapting the game for a global audience. Think cultural nuances, idioms, and regional flair. A good localization makes players feel right at home wherever in the world that they are. So, see, this is a big problem for me. This is a big problem for me. You're trying to convince me and tell me that it's not just about translating when it is, okay? You don't want it to be just about translating. You want it to be about cultural ideology. You want to make it seem as if someone said XYZ when they didn't. You want to change what the characters are saying and completely change the context to the point where the story is not the same as what the author was actually trying to present when they were writing that anime or manga or video game from the East. That is a big problem. People like Eastern content for one reason and one reason only. It is not infested with garbage like the West is. And you, by being a localizer, you are now going to infest the content that people are trying to consume uninfested. You're going to infest it with the same nonsense that had people shy away from the Western content to begin with. And you know you're doing this, and you know you want to do this because this is a form of control for you. This is a form of not only control, but it's also a form of activism for you. You need to get this out of you. You need to do what you gotta do as an activist. Then it says, next they stated lost in translation. Nah, preserving the vibe is key. Jokes, references, and even gameplay elements might need a little cultural remix. So the problem is you're not preserving the vibe. You're not preserving the jokes. You're definitely not preserving the references, and gameplay elements might need a cultural remix. Really? Why? Why? Why is it that the East can handle certain things that the West can't handle? Why do you feel like you have to play nanny when other people are grown adults and they can make their own decisions? You don't need to be the arbiter of information. You don't need to be the one who plays nanny for the internet. You don't have the right to change shit from what someone else made and say, oh, I did this just to protect you and, to make sure it was culturally sensitive. Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Let the adults decide whether or not something is offensive or not. You are trying to be offended for someone else, and you're offended at everything. So because you're offended at everything, now you're going to change everything. And that's a big issue. Don't pass your offensive, nature on me. I don't need to know that. Give me the story that the Japanese initially intended, and I will decide for myself whether or not I'm like, whoa, this is a lot, or whether or not I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty fucking good. I will decide that. You're not my fucking nanny. And this is the problem, man. These woke fucking localizers are acting like nannies. They want to control the speech. They want to control the narrative. They want to interject identity politics. It's really not about protecting people and offense. It's more so about changing things and interjecting their own ideologies into a story that they couldn't write in the first place. Then it says it's important to find that sweet spot to make sure players get the intended experience without feeling like something got lost in the process. Well, guess what? You're failing. You're failing. You're failing completely. You want to know why? Because the internet knows everything. And the internet will come out and explain and showcase the difference between a localization and the actual original, and proving that you completely butchered the story, you completely butchered the context, and you completely butchered something to the point where it felt like it was lost. And people know. People know, like, we can tell when things just don't seem like it was written that way. We can tell when some fucking theater major or somebody from some woke fucking school got their hands on a localization and just changed it completely. Each language has its unique structure and cultural context. Our teams work to ensure the narrative and dialogue maintain coherence and emotional impact. It's not just about words, it's about capturing the essence of the story in a way that resonates with the target audience the Capcom localization team wrote. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like, unfortunately, they are going to go the way of pure and utter fucking woke. They are going to ruin localizations, and if you guys were big fans of Capcom games, I would be highly suspect over what is being put into these games moving forward, considering that this is the narrative that they want to push. This is what their localization team wants to do, and it's very clear and very obvious that wokeness has completely taken over Capcom to the max. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.